Hello there. I guess you came here to hear a story. Well, normally I don't do that, but I suppose I can make an exception.
There once was this pointy little fellow that lived in a vast archive with a bunch of others just like him. Every day he would stand in file with everyone else and receive triangular objects and instructions. Down they'd come, one by one, for him to slot in their proper slots. He was content to shuffle through his task day in and day out. That was until one day he received a very peculiar object. It came with no instructions. That meant it went nowhere. But for the first time he hesitated. There was something familiar about it, not in shape nor in appearance, but something. Nonetheless, he tossed it away and resumed his work. This one here, that one there. But as the object ended up at his feet, he was motivated to pick it up. He asked his coworker next to him, but he simply yelled at him to get back to work. He sat on the floor with the object and looked at it. Sure, he had seen other objects, why, he had saw them every day, but never once had he actually looked. He examined it, felt it, memorizing its shape. He wanted to know its purpose. His coworker caught him on the floor and yelled for the guards. "This one's not working." And before he knew it, the guards were on him. One leapt to his station to replace him. The other two grabbed him by his arms. He pleaded. He feared leaving what he knew, but that was irrelevant. They tossed him out a hatch to the outside world. He gripped the object as tightly as he could. He begged for them to let him back in. As the hatch closed, one of the guards called out, "If that one can find the utility of that object, then possibly." He desperately wanted to return to what he knew, so he set out to learn. He made his way down the hill from the archive, and there he came across the square folk. He showed them his object, and it puzzled them as well. "We have something like that, but square," they said. They showed him their writing utensils, and they were indeed square. He tried to write with his object, but to no avail. As he moved on, he continued to ponder. You must have a utility. All things have a utility. Next he came to the diamond people in the Angle Wilds. He showed them his object, but they simply tried to eat it. You see, they had fruit that was similar, except, of course, it was diamond-shaped. Out of curiosity, he himself was tempted to see if it was edible, but one bite told him it wasn't, and he kind of felt silly for trying. Sometimes he would look at the object, study its form and shape. As he traveled, he tried to fit the object into slots he would find along the way, but he never could find one that fit. And this was true no matter where he went. Every village had similar objects, but they weren't the same, and never did they share a function with his. He traveled and traveled, all the while examining the object. He spent more time fiddling with it. Sometimes he tried to catch one in with the other, but never quite got it. Eventually he came to the point where all the edges of the world met. There has to be an answer here, he thought. There's no more world left. He entered a cave at the highest point, and there sat a pointy fellow much like himself, much older and somehow softer. "Oh, hello there. I haven't seen one of us since I left the archive. What are you doing here?" "Come sit," the old fellow said. "That's not what you came here to learn, is it?" The little fellow turned and produced the object. "I want to know what the utility of this is." He chuckled. It has no utility, at least none of its own. Confused, the little fellow asked, "So what's the object's point?" The old fellow chuckled again. "Much like you, its point is on the inside." The little fellow pondered on this, dwelling on the object. "But if I could make a suggestion," said the old fellow, "the first thing I learned to do with mine was play with it." The little fellow left the old fellow in the cave. As he did, he swung the cupped end of his object and tried to catch it on its point. As he did so, he got closer and closer until, "I did it," he said. And in that moment, all the things the old fellow said made sense. He didn't have to return to the archive. He could choose whatever he wanted. He used the object to knock down a fruit off a tree for himself. He drew objects in the sand with the point. He could do anything he wanted. His utility was whatever he wanted it to be, and he decided that he wanted to play.